Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, number 11 of 2019. Welcome along, my name's Gareth Evans. This is Mr. Henry Cooper.
Confetti cannons, smoke machines, yeah.
You're hot in training for your MMA fight, right? You've been fighting with this light here this morning.
Yeah, I definitely punched the light by accident.
You're deep into
I told you,
training.
he was chatting shit. He said my dog wasn't cute. She's lovely.
Oh.
I miss my dog. I haven't seen her for ages.
Oh well. I mean, my heart goes out to you. And
it should. She's fabulous. She's really fucking annoying though.
Well,
she's a small little yappy thing, so she's really annoying. But she's really cute.
I'm sure
so
she is.
It's worth it.
I'm sure she is. Not cute enough to go and spend time with, apparently.
She's well, if I'm here, more like 300 miles away.
Well, you know. The distance wouldn't keep you apart if it was true love.
No, but our love is strong enough that the distance doesn't matter.
Yeah, she's just another bitch.
She is. She is a literal bitch.
Anyway, let's do some on-topic stuff. Today we're going to be talking about CD Projekt Red just had their, I think it's like, is it quarterly announcement conference thing where they talk about the financial results? I think it's quarterly. Or
I think the back end of Q4 now.
Yeah, I think it's a quarterly announcement of, like, they talked about a lot about the future and about things. You've got a few things and quotes from Adam Kaczynski anyway to discuss. And we're going to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood. We've got some interesting things to talk about in that regard. We've got Generation Zero that was released this week, and we're going to look at some of the reviews. Then we're going to take some Discord questions from the patrons, and then we're going to read some YouTube comments and try not to get annoyed. So there we have it.
Well, you've already had 2 mini rants in setting up everything today.
I'm getting in training, warming up, see?
Warming up. So I'm getting ready to fight 2 hunky Australian men, and you're just getting angry about it.
Fighting hunky Australian men. Your words, not mine.
Yeah, I'll stand by it.
Okay, let's stick to topic for a change, Henry.
Don't want to do that.
Let's talk about CD Projekt Red.
Right.
Now, what do you have for us? What do they have for us?
They've pretty much said that E3 is going to be the biggest thing ever, essentially.
It's going to be bigger than last year's E3.
It's going to be bigger.
It's going to be
better.
Juicy E3.
They've essentially just said it's going to be the biggest in their company history.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had some pretty good E3s already.
Well, last year's
not even just E3s, but they're good at doing announcements.
Last year's E3 was their biggest by far, with the announcement of Cyberpunk, and it was part of the Adam Kaczynski's talk when he was on stage during this thing, whatever, right? Was that E3 last year was huge for them in terms of he's using. The reason he's on stage is he's explained to investors like the state of the company and what the plan is for the future in order to get people on board and confidence to improve, get higher, so that people will invest in the company, and so that he's trying to sell the company to people basically. So he's using slides in this presentation showing how many views on YouTube Cyberpunk trailer got from the E3 kind of 48-minute gameplay trailer, right? And he's using that as evidence and proof, and we've mentioned this before on the channel, that Cyberpunk is highly anticipated, and he puts the figures right next to the Witcher trailer viewing figures and stuff, and they're absolutely dwarfing the Witcher, and the Witcher's done really well for them, Witcher 3. However, Cyberpunk has really gone above and beyond their expectations in terms of generated all this hype. So the fact that he's using Cyberpunk, and that's what was big for them. That's why it was a big E3 last year.
Yeah.
So that their reputation and the anticipation and the hype building into the future of their games in Cyberpunk, which is due either end of this year or next year, we can assume that people are, already invested in the future products that are coming.
It's such a recognizable brand right now, because if you say Cyberpunk to a gamer, they know what the game you're talking about is, which I think is funny, because Cyberpunk itself, it was an existing word, it's a genre, and was the board game, right?
Yeah.
But now when you say Cyberpunk to a gamer, they'll be like, oh, it's that cool sci-fi thing from the Witcher people.
That's right.
It's definitely part of the kind of gaming culture right now, and it's not even out.
Yeah, and it's building this pre-release hype that is invaluable to these companies, and so you can't put a value on it. So much so to the fact that Adam Kaczynski here is harnessing that value and that good feeling and anticipation within the community, and using that as something to
he's like quantifying it.
Yeah,
he's trying to turn the hype, which is a very kind of abstract concept, into like raw numbers to show
potential investors.
Yeah, investors, which is a great.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
this is how good. This is how well received our trailer is for our game. This is why we're going to do well in the future, which is awesome. So was there anything else? I picked out a couple of things, right? And bottom line is the company's doing really well, although GOG is suffering quite a bit. They marginally turned a profit, and we heard recently that they laid off maybe 8 or 12 employees.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near as many as the Activision one a few weeks ago or the EA one this week, but it was still a shame. Yeah,
they're not doing too well, GOG, and GOG is a subsidiary of CD Projekt, right? So CD Projekt is the mother company. CD Projekt Red is the development studio. GOG is the store, is the indie, like the DRM-free store on the PC platform. So it's like CD Projekt Red, CD Projekt GOG, if you like, are the two separate entities, which are children of the CD Projekt main big company thing. Anyway, hopefully
to top it off, project is spelled with a K.
Yeah, if it wasn't confusing enough. But yeah, CD Projekt turned a huge profit in the region of, in last year, £22 million sterling, which is around about 25 plus million US dollars, 109 million Polish zloty for those of you who are dealing in that currency. So yeah, it's all very rosy for the people who were concerned about what was going on with GOG and that. They've actually expanded. They've bought some business. They've bought some real estate right next to the current offices.
Essentially, the building immediately next to where the current CD Projekt Red development studio offices are
in Warsaw.
In the capital of Poland, in Warsaw, and they're planning apparently to hire around 250 to 300 new developers.
Yeah, the idea is that they've got all this new space now, which they own themselves, by the way, and then they're just in the process of finalising that and getting their hands on with the planning out how the office is going to be. The current offices they're only renting, so they've increased the capacity by about 50%. They said, right, the space, and then they're looking to fill those with fill that space with 250 to 300 employees, which is going to be great. I mean, I think the quote that Adam Kaczynski said on stage himself was, in our industry, creative capacities are in direct proportion to the team sizes because it's people creating what we're selling. We don't plan to stop at a certain level, indicating that they've not got a lid on how far they're willing to grow. I mean, it's just like, if we're doing well, we're going to invest in personnel, keep making games to our
standards. If they want to keep creating, they've got to keep growing. Which
is great news, although it was said that the team for Cyberpunk is already where it's going to be. There's not going to be anyone else working additional. I think there's 400 people currently working on Cyberpunk, and no additional personnel will be working on Cyberpunk.
So part of the expansion is also connected to the E3 stuff, because there's potential for them to talk about some non-Cyberpunk stuff there as well.
Yes.
Because I think we reported earlier in the week that they're working on 2 upcoming AAA RPGs, obviously one being Cyberpunk and one being something else.
Yes.
We don't know what that one is.
Yes.
And it could be another Witcher game, a game in the Witcher universe.
Yeah.
It could be another, like a Thronebreaker or a Gwent, but I feel like that's unlikely, because I wouldn't call that a AAA game, because
I don't think it's a AAA game.
No, but like, because fundamentally,
the scale is a lot smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Because fundamentally, it's significantly smaller.
Yeah.
Than an open world RPG like The Witcher.
Yeah. On that very specific subject, Adam Kaczynski said, the project is underway, because people are speculating, obviously, what this game is going to be, so people are asking questions. He says, we continue to reevaluate the situation, aiming at products that are going to meet or go beyond gamers' expectations and generate sound business for us. Please do not draw conclusions as to what kind of game it's going to be just yet. I'm not saying another Cyberpunk product is not being developed. It's just that there are a few things we are not discussing just yet because the time is not ripe. And I think one of the things that of all the there's a Q&A session at the end of this presentation that they did. And a lot of things he was reiterating was, don't jump to conclusions about what this game's going to be. Like, let's not make it, because he doesn't want to set people's expectations for any sort of game that's on the same level of something like The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk. I think that's my takeaway from it. Is he's trying to play it down because he knows people can get carried away with expectations, and it can just end up being a bit of a disappointment if that happens. Yeah.
Like, it could be something in an existing franchise, or it could be something brand new. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah. He definitely said it wasn't a port of any kind. He said it's definitely not a port. It's new content. Yeah. But on the scale of which we don't know, we're not saying. But the reason they're not releasing any information about it is because he wants all the focus to be on Cyberpunk. He feels like it doesn't make sense to be diluting the message that they're putting out there by trying to promote too many things at once. I think the whole of the thrust on the promotional side now is Cyberpunk, and that's definitely why we're going to have a big E3 for Cyberpunk fans.
I think E3 for Cyberpunk, I wouldn't put it past them to not give us a release date. Yeah, but it's very likely that we could get one.
A release window.
Yeah, or a year.
If it's any more than a year out, then don't even bother releasing it. The release date. Just say it's still, we haven't got a date for you yet.
Exactly.
Because they never stick to it. Anything more than a year out always extends. Yeah, always.
Exactly. But if they do give us a concrete date, immediately then the marketing is going to start ramping up. Even if it's a whole year out, you're going to start getting more stuff to do with Cyberpunk coming out in terms of like trailers, like interviews and shit, but also like merch and stuff. You'll start seeing that way more in like shops, like in Game or in GameSpot or whatever. No, GameStop.
It's funny you should mention that. One of the things that he did mention was that they are developing an extra business. In fact, they're making another business specifically for merch and for products that they can sell around their brands. So Witcher products and Cyberpunk related products. Don't know specifically what they're going to be, but that's another kind of business that they're looking at developing.
This means instead of having to license it out, they can just do it themselves.
Yes.
It's good. If they have the means to do it and they can do it well, go for it.
That is it. So anything else that was discussed that is relevant now? I think one of the things that sticks out for we've said it before on the channel, we've covered it in detail, that Adam Kaczynski is, for me personally, the MVP of the games industry. And as a head of a company, to have the philosophy and the outlook that he does is just astounding to me. And I think time and time again, he talks about producing games to the highest quality. And he says the most important objective, he's talking about specifically Thronebreaker, but it kind of illustrates the point. The most important objective has been met about Thronebreaker, talking about the disappointing sales that it had. Yet another CD Projekt game of very high quality. And that's the most important objective for him, right? Is that the game it's like 85 and above on Metacritic, and he mentioned that specifically as well. That's what they're aiming for.
It's about making just good games rather than focusing on making money, because he believes, and I agree, if you make a good game, the money will come in. Yeah, like the audience will find you.
That's it. And they showed a slide as well of the tail or the residual sales of The Witcher 3 since it was launched, and it was something like the first year was, obviously they sell most in the first year, 2015, but then the subsequent years, 16, 17, 18, so they sold around 40% of the first year, just like consistently, which is huge sales. I mean, it's not on the scale of something like GTA 5, which sells loads and loads, and it's been in the top 10 sales figures for like
since
forever.
launch,
But it's not on that scale, but still.
But like, they're not as big a company as Rockstar, and Rockstar can have such a massive marketing budget on top of development budget. CD Projekt are getting much bigger. They're a much more recognizable name now, but they still won't have that won't have had that marketing power back with The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Because you just can't compare it with a Rockstar or like an Activision game. They are the ones always have the highest budgets for marketing. You see their trailers everywhere.
That's it.
But that is likely to change when Cyberpunk starts getting pumped out and their marketing kind of machine starts rolling.
That's it. Exactly. And the last thing that I think I want to talk about was just another illustration of how this guy thinks and why we believe in him so much here at PGG. I think talking about subscription, when he's asked specifically about subscription models for Gwent, because Gwent is now free-to-play games as a service type of thing. So it's free to get into the game and play the game, but then what they're doing is they're producing content for it on a regular basis and monetizing that. So when asked specifically about a premium subscription model for Gwent, something like a battle pass that you might see in Apex, for example, or anything, Fortnite does that as well, like a season pass. His response was this, and I like this. It seems not as fair for other players because the game is paying a lot each month, get preferential treatment. Talking about pay to win, right?
Yeah.
Specifically saying that it's not fair. I don't like this subscription model because it's not fair for people who don't pay because they're not getting, it's pay to win essentially. As a principle, we are really focused on our business models and our offer for the players to be fair because it's an absolute foundation of our philosophy and strategy. That is priceless. That is why, for me, he's the MVP. I mean, maybe there's someone else in the industry who says the same kind of thing, but there's nobody as high status and as high profile as this guy who sings it from the rooftops, essentially, in front of like the investors and says, this is our strategy to be fair to players, and that's an absolute foundation of our philosophy. I fucking love it. I fucking love that, man.
Such a man of principle.
Yeah. I love that.
It's so nice to see and so refreshing.
Yeah.
After like EA's layoffs this week, where it's so insidious. Like, we're doing it to bring a better experience to our players. No, you're not. You're doing it so that you can keep your $1 million bonuses and all that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is so pure.
It's a great comparison because Andrew Wilson's words always seem so hollow.
Yeah.
Whenever he talks about games, it's always like, bring you the best game experience. And like you described Anthem as unlike anything you've ever played before. And it's like, that just doesn't ring true. Obviously these words are so meaningless because you're just throwing around hyperbole as if anybody's eating it up. Yeah. Anyone with any 2 cents can assess the situation and realize you're talking shit, Andrew. Whereas, Adam Kaczynski here doesn't do that, right? He talks to people as if they're people and not just as if they're sheep ready to be kind of rounded up and just taken advantage of.
You're a potential buyer, therefore potential moneymaker for me.
Yeah.
There were so many comments on any video we have about Andrew Wilson saying he just inherently looks like a Bond villain or like Robbie Rutten from, what's the show? Lazy Town.
Yeah. He does look like Robbie
It's
Rutten.
So true. He looks sinister.
He's a villain.
Yeah.
But not even... Who are we to argue?
Doesn't even look like the top tier villain. He's not like Goldfinger. He's the one step beneath him who thinks he's like the top dog
Silver toe, right?
Silver toe, there you go. The shitty little middle toe doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Not even
bronze bollock.
Bronze bollock. Charmer.
Right, I think that's it for our Cyberpunk discussion. So next we're going to move on to our second topic of today, which is Wolfenstein Youngblood. Now, what have Bethesda revealed this week about Wolfenstein Youngblood, young Henry?
Wolfenstein? Don't worry, it's not exclusive to Epic Store, or it's not full of horrendous microtransactions.
In fact, they've confirmed it's going to Steam.
They have confirmed that.
So
it's a bit of, I think it's really good news, personally. I think it's a really cool idea. But essentially, new Wolfenstein game. This one's all about co-op. slightly separate story. You're playing as one of two twins. I think they're the daughters of the main protagonist from the original games.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's fully co-op. You control one of those two, and your friend controls the other one. Now, with the deluxe edition, they're adding this thing called the Buddy Pass. And that essentially is you can give one of your friends access to the game, and they can play it with you for free, but they can't play it on their own. They have to play it with you in co-op. But I think that's awesome.
It's great. I think, and a detail too is that it's unlimited, so you can invite as many buddies as you want to play with you, so long as you're playing, they can play.
Yeah, and so if you buy the game, you are the license holder. You own the copy.
Yeah,
they don't own anything, but you're inviting them to play with you, and they can join your game and do it. I think, and for a game that is very much built around co-op, playing co-op games without the human buddy, it's nowhere near as good. Like Resident Evil 5 was really fun co-op to real people, but bloody awful playing it solo because the AI was horrendous.
Yeah, I think there definitely isn't enough of this in the industry where games are made for just a co-op experience. Although this is playable in single player as well, this is primarily going to be focused on a multiplayer experience. And one caveat to it is that you do need the deluxe edition.
Yeah, it has to be the deluxe one, which I think is a little odd.
Obviously, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive. So you're paying a premium to get this buddy pass. So it's not without its catches. However, it is good in a sense that if you've got that functionality to your game, if you know that you got game players, or you could even go halvesies on it with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And it's not a full priced game anyway. So apparently it's $30 for the base version and then $40 for the deluxe. Yeah. I don't know what else you get with the deluxe. It's probably some skins or something.
Some of the bollocks that Bethesda want to throw in.
Yeah, normal deluxe bollocks.
We've had bronze bollocks. We've now had deluxe bollocks.
BJ Blaska bollocks. But yeah, so if you pay the extra tenner, you could say to your buddy hey, you can have my share thing, but give me a little give me a little something.
Give me a little juice.
Yeah.
The idea itself is really sound, and it works really well for A Way Out. If you remember the EA multiplayer game. I can't remember what the name of the studio was. It was the guy, Joseph Faraz, was the lead guy, the guy who flipped the V out of the game's studio and said, fuck you, the Oscars. Or whatever, don't remember the name of it.
Hazelight Studios.
Hazelight. But it worked really well for them. That was a multiplayer-only game, right? Where you could invite anybody anytime to come in and play. You didn't, there wasn't any buddy pass or something.
Yeah, it was 100% co-op and split screen the entire time because you had to solve puzzles by watching what your other person was doing.
Yeah,
it's a really cool concept.
Which is really good. So the second player, didn't need the copy of the game, and it was a cheaper game as well. It was 20 or 30 quid.
Yeah, because that was one of those higher end indie games.
Yeah, and that was really good. It worked out really well. They sold over 1 million copies within 2 weeks, if I recall, and it was a success. And they moved on with that. Now, I like this what Bethesda done because they're offering another co-op experience for players who want that. Yeah, it's at a premium if you want the buddy pass, but it's an option. Yeah, it's an option. Should this buddy pass be thrown in? I don't think so, because there's added value there, right? There is value there for the player who, if you think that if two people want to play the game, they buy it separately for $40, or they could share it $15 each, right?
I just think
instead of 20 each.
I feel like this is just such a good idea.
Yeah,
inherently when I saw it, I didn't really have any reservations when I saw it. I was just like, this is just such a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Why has no one really done this massively before?
Because co-op's dead, right?
True, yeah, co-op's dead.
Just like single players are dead. Isn't that right, Amy Hennig or whoever said that? I think we should see how it's implemented and should see what other bollocks comes with it.
Yeah.
Because, there's always bollocks associated with this, especially when it's big AAA companies.
But Bethesda, they really need some good news after their last tire fire, let's say.
Yeah.
Although if they're confirming that they're on Steam, that's going to earn them a lot of goodwill, or well, not necessarily goodwill, but it'll not lose
Not
them.
piss people off more.
Yeah, it'll keep people like good.
Damage limitation mode, right?
It's like, this is what we expect. And now this, I think, is a super cool idea. Obviously, it's not going to appeal to everyone, because not everyone wants to play co-op with people. Like, I know I like to just kind of sit in my little cave and like a goblin and cover myself in like Doritos. But if I have the opportunity to play with like a friend, I totally will.
Yeah. Well, if it's free and there's no strings attached, and you're like, oh, why didn't you play this game with me? Oh, I can't because I don't have it. Well, you don't need it because I got this buddy pass thing. That's cool.
Yeah, and I don't know how it will work. I don't know if you get a code that you send them, or you invite them through like a lobby. Yeah, and they beam in from wherever. But I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it pans out. I always, it's always sometimes too good to be true, especially with a company who's already got a bad reputation. So always stick a question mark, or stick a pin in that in terms of excitement, guys. But let us know down in the comments whether you think this is a good idea, bad idea, whether you think they're going to screw it up some way because it's Bethesda. And that's weird to say because like 6 months ago, Bethesda weren't like this badly regarded in the industry.
Yeah, it was now, like, oh, the games are a bit glitchy, haha. But
yeah, it was Bethesda, but it was nothing on the level of kind of I don't know, just the reputation's just gone so down that I don't know. You just know what to expect. It's like,
it's just
it's so
what my yawn in that video the other day. It's so perfect because it wasn't planned. I was just super tired, but it's Fallout 76, man.
We're Fallout 76.
Yawn.
So that is it for our Bethesda Wolfenstein Youngblood talk. Next, we are going to talk about Generation Zero and the reviews thereon. It released on Tuesday.
I think it was Tuesday, 26th, if that was Tuesday.
Yeah, pretty sure it was Tuesday. And what is Generation Zero to begin with? We've played it, right?
Yeah, we played, what was it? It was beta, I think?
Very early beta.
So it's like first-person cooperative sci-fi shooter.
Based in 1980 Sweden.
Yeah, so it's very 80s.
And mechs and robots and dogs and stuff.
Yeah, and you can like throw flares and shit to distract them, and it's all about like looting the houses and stuff.
Yeah.
So we thought it was pretty cool.
It was a decent co-op experience.
But
but
I remember thinking, like, oh, this is really cool.
It needs fleshing out.
Yeah.
If it was really bare bones, right?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, it's a beta. It's fine.
They'll sort it out.
But it looks like it hasn't really developed much past that, unfortunately. Yeah. So currently on Metacritic, only on PC, there isn't a console review on there yet. It's 49 on Metacritic for PC, which is harsh.
Yeah,
that is low.
That stings. That's painful. That is a painful score.
Bitter. So that's based on 1 positive review, 10 mixed, and 5 negative.
Oh, jeez.
So that's a real rough show of it. 5.9 user, so it's a little bit more favourable. From my quick glance over it, I didn't really look too deep. People are really into like the 80s aesthetic. Mm-hmm. That's what people seem to really like, and the co-op element of being able to play with friends. But the people who didn't like it were quite hung up on like technical difficulties and the game on a technical level.
Glitches.
Yeah, glitches and that sort of stuff.
It's developed by
Avalanche.
Avalanche Studios, right? And Avalanche are working with id on Rage 2. Avalanche are a huge studio now. They've got loads. They worked on the Just Cause series in the past. They worked on the Mad Max open world game recently, a few years ago too. So they've got stakes in many fires, you could say. Maybe they didn't put enough of a stake in this fire, right?
Yeah, I think maybe they just put perhaps a bit too much into Rage 2 and this got a bit neglected.
Maybe there's the B team who was working on this.
But I'm really excited for Rage 2. I think it looks really awesome.
It does look good.
So, I mean, if Rage 2 is really good, it's worth it. Like, I'd rather have 1 really good game than 2 average.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, let's reserve judgment on Rage just yet. I mean, that might be shit as well.
Exactly. It could well be.
Nothing is guaranteed in this industry at this stage.
So IGN gave it a 40, saying, Generation Zero is a buggy and poorly designed open-world co-op shooter that tragically squanders its distinctive setting.
Ouchies.
So it's technically bad, but its setting's kind of cool, which is a shame because it's in Sweden.
Yeah.
And I think the developers said it's literally in their backyard, and they were like, "Oh, this is what we did as kids." And we did not shooting robots. Don't fucking lose your mind. But like, exploring, going around. Like when you're a kid, you ride around on your bike. You go in the woods. You goof around. That's kind of the vibe they're trying to channel. Eurogamer, an atmospheric but rather empty open world, a moody shooter undermined by a lack of polish and purpose. Destructoid, which was, I think, the lowest on Metacritic at 25%.
Right?
Yeah. There are some genuinely cool moments buried among the slop. If this were an early access title, I'd be very content saying keep an eye on it as it nears release. Considering this game is being released like this, I will instead warn to not waste any money on this unfinished title. And that's very much what we were just saying about how when it was in beta, it was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It
seems like it's getting there, right?
But it hasn't
never got there.
Yeah, just never got there. Got lost on the way. Got lost in the Swedish woodlands. WCCF Tech were a bit more pleasant, but still not great, at 50. Generation Zero is a game that has fantastic potential, but falls short in so many areas. The excellent combat and generally great atmosphere is let down by a myriad of bugs, a very limited range of enemies to face off against, boring quests, and a world that is just too large and sterile, particularly if played alone. And that's a good point to note as well, because a lot of these co-op games really rest on the co-op ability.
Aspect,
like if you can't play it co-op because you haven't got very good internet or something, if you're forced to play it alone, you're fucked.
Yeah,
the game's basically unplayable.
They added fun extra as well. You can overlook bugs and glitches and stuff if it's a co-op game, because you can have fun as a group of friends. I guess
loads of people still love Anthem because they can go in with their friends and just fly about and shoot stuff. The most positive one on Metacritic was from God is Geek, who gave it an 80, and that's a real solid high. Generation Zero combines the open world of an RPG with the shooting and looting of a battle royale to create a rather special 80s vision of post-apocalyptic sci-fi where every fight feels like a battle for survival. So this guy just must have been super into it.
He's got some positives and negatives listed here on his website. Positives: excellent atmosphere and setting. You can see that it was an awesome setting. Atmosphere was there for sure, and there were definite it was really gasping moments. There's a couple of those, right?
Because the whole thing is framed with you're in this town, but everyone's suddenly vanished, and you want to find out why.
Yeah,
and that was a kind of cool, mysterious atmosphere.
It was the hook of the narrative, where it was the next step, just to find out a little bit more about what's happened to these people.
But I guess it never told you a full a satisfying reason. Because people saying the quests are boring, so.
And enemy AI is great. So another positive. Co-op works well. I mean, you don't expect it to work well, wouldn't you? You would expect a co-op game to work well.
Yeah, it should be a given.
The negatives, a little slow-paced. You can see that.
Yeah,
some clipping issues during combat, and that's it. That's all the negativity he's got. So, I mean, obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But there you go.
I guess when it comes to glitches as well, sometimes you just don't encounter them. Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky or unlucky if you do see them. So
there you go. It's one of them.
It's a shame, really.
It looked like such a great, when it was released and we saw the trailer with the big mech and the 4-player co-op thing. It looked interesting enough for us to get our hands on it and pursue it and play it. But if it's not come to fruition, then I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. There you go, Avalanche. Try harder.
Well, it might be one to watch over time. They might turn it around.
Yeah. Well, games as a service is a thing, and these co-op games tend to get updated and fixed. Yeah. Maybe they will stick with it.
A lot of people are saying there is potential there, so maybe if Avalanche can realise that potential, it could be a pretty good game in a few months' time, but it's not right now.
I mean, do they have a roadmap or...
Not that I'm aware of. Although you could probably do with a roadmap in that Swedish wilderness.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, it doesn't... I haven't seen anything about any updates coming. Look, it just looks good. It just looks good. It just underwhelms, right? It just doesn't hit the mark. But there we go.
Shame. Well, something's got to be bad. We've had quite a solid year so far.
Yeah, but a few decent games.
Even Anthem, you can hate it as much as you like. It's still like a 70 something, 60 something on Metacritic. I can't remember, but it's not 40. So
yeah, this is bad. Anyway, that's it for Generation Zero. If any of you guys have got your own experiences with the game, if you played it, did you enjoy it? Or do you hate it? Did you think you wasted your money? Or have you got hope for the future? Or you think it's an absolute write-off? Let us know down in the comments, because we do like to hear what you've got to say. We seem to be moving through this quite at a swift pace today. I think we're just over half an hour, maybe 40 minutes in now. Let's take some Discord questions. Now, these Discord questions are pitched by the Discord members who are patrons, and they are people who've gone to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and they've signed up and to commit some of their resources, some of their monetary resources to us every single month in order to keep us operating, right? And without them, without people supporting us on Patreon, we couldn't continue operating. So deepest gratitude to these guys and gals who do support us on a monthly basis. If you are interested in supporting our content and helping us bring you these videos on a weekly basis, I think it's 4 videos a week that we do now. Currently, 4 to 5 videos. You can head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and check out some of the awesome rewards that you can get while supporting us. And one of them is access to the Discord, access to the Dad Jokes channel. I mean, that's priceless. That is priceless. You can't put a price on that.
Because it's such bad quality, no one would pay for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I hope some of you did watch to the end of the most recent video, because we recorded 2 jokes, and one was perhaps a bit too far for that early in the video, let's say, because the YouTube people would have maybe got a bit upset.
Flagged it, yeah.
So I tucked it away at the end.
Yeah, it was seen, that's for sure. And
I've got a couple of comments about it as well.
Yeah, well, if you want to ask us a question for the podcast, that is where to do it, on the Patreon Discord for Pretty Good Gaming. Do you want to go ahead and ask us? Have you read through all these? Or?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of these, so it's lucky dip today.
Metal Shark, I've got about 4 questions from you. But you're one of the probably the most active asker.
He's got an inquisitive mind, hasn't he? So,
and you're always there with the jokes. There's always something.
His mind never stops.
What would you like to see from PlayStation 5? Not just feeds and speeds, but ethos, approach to ownerships, streaming, and marketplaces. So, PS5, what they're going to do.
Not just feeds, speeds, but ethos, approach to ownerships, streaming, and marketplaces. I'm not a huge console gamer anyway, so we throw this to you, really. I've always been a PC gamer, and I will never primarily play on a console, which is like in 2 years down the line, the hardware will be limited. It won't be the current state. I only ever buy PlayStation for the exclusives, right?
Yeah.
I only ever buy PlayStation for the games that you can get, which are generally really top class.
Yeah. And I think someone, I can't remember if it was CEO of Sony as a whole or just the PlayStation team or something, they said that they wanted to pretty much keep doing what they're doing. They said we just want to make good games, and I think that's what they need to keep doing, because they've had several home runs, especially in the back end of the PS4's life that we're in now.
Yeah,
God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man, Days Gone's coming out soon. That could be really good. We don't know, but could be. At some point, Last of Us or Death Stranding or Ghost of Tsushima might make it to the PS4. They might be pushed ahead. But even if they are pushed ahead, they've already got some solid potential good to go. So keep in terms of ethos, keep that focus on quality going. And because they've not really touched the whole games as a service nonsense.
No, not really. They've focused largely on VR recently, but the games is where the PlayStation wins, right, above others. And I think it's the same kind of philosophy as Nintendo, where they just make sure that the games are good, ready, and perfect day one, pretty much. And you know you've got that kind of seal of approval when you buy a Nintendo game, or more and more recently, especially the PlayStation game too. You know it's going to have a certain level of gameplay, a certain level of like features, a certain, you know, everything's up to a certain benchmark with a PlayStation game, whereas it's not quite so true with other developers. But yeah, I think they just need to keep that, and I think, you know, they've done really well this console generation, and hopefully they can keep that and hold that ethos that they've had in the approach that they've had, and just not be swayed by games as a service, or not be swayed by streaming, or not be swayed by all these other bullshit practices going on in the industry. Just stand firm. Hold. Just hold the line. Hold the line, PlayStation.
And if the rumors and leaks and whatnot of backwards compatibility are true, that's going to be a big win for them. Yeah. Because the tech is something like it on the fly remasters all the previous games. Yeah. Like, so if you put a Final Fantasy VII PS1 disc in the game, it will run it and update the textures and all that sort of stuff. If they can nail that, that's a solid win already, because then every quality game they've done is available.
I would say that it's a good shout that they might be looking at mobile again, like the PS Vita, right? Because it's worked so well for the Nintendo Switch, and there's new opportunities now with technology advancing in terms of, you know, processing power getting so much bigger, so you can shrink down the size of your hardware in order to achieve. I would say that might be a good move to. I don't know whether it would overlap on the Nintendo Switch, but just to try get it to do something innovative in terms of gaming, because people are talking about streaming games on the move. Nintendo Switch have got their gaming on the move device. What have PlayStation got in terms of gaming on the move? Like, I think they need to. Hopefully, they can come out with something that's equally as impressive as the Nintendo Switch, if not more, because you can play the, you know, maybe better hardware would be great, as well as, you know, the ability to play AAA games on it. It'd be good.
Maybe, but I feel like if they might be overstretching themselves if they try and do portable gaming as well, because they've got console, that's always been their like core, and they're really pushing VR now, as we saw in State of Play. So I don't know if they have they probably have the resources to do it, but to venture out into another thing as well would mean that something's got to give if they want to give it all the same attention.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they could probably still do it. I mean, Sony are a massive company.
They are.
Pretty much do what they like.
They can do what they want. Hopefully it's impressive, and hopefully they can keep up the high quality.
Yeah.
Next up, same from Metal Shock again. If Nintendo decide to no longer make hardware themselves and instead license others with the ability to quality control / veto the final units, which manufacturer would you like to design your next Switch? If they no longer make hardware themselves, this is a bit of a hypothetical here. So if Nintendo were to decide, no, not doing hardware anymore, who would we want building the Switch? I would say Google or Samsung, or someone who knows about mobile processors and shit, and fit in the best bang for your buck in terms of hardware in a small unit.
Yeah,
someone who's.
I really don't have an answer.
Yeah, I would say someone who knows what they're doing in terms of mobile devices, and you can't look further. I mean, Google Pixel is my phone that I use, and I really appreciate that. I think it's awesome, as well as Samsung are pretty cool. Apple, I wouldn't like an Apple Switch.
No, Apple would. Apple. They're a bit boisterous.
They would never do
with
it.
Their labeling.
Fuck Apple. Fuck Apple. says us sitting here with two Apple
Macs.
devices. How come you guys call yourselves gamers when you're using MacBooks? That's the comments, right? Yeah. That's what comments are saying right now. I know. I can see your fingers are twitching, and we would explain that the reason why we've got these MacBooks, obviously, is because we edit, right? Because we edit videos. Because these are work laptops. These, funnily enough, these aren't our gaming units, right? We don't game on these units. These are for work. Imagine that, you stupid motherfuckers.
Okay.
Anyway.
Right. Next up, question 3 from Metal Shark. Google decide to ask PGG for help in designing their first 1,000-player concurrent game. What would you like it to be? Where would it be set? What developers would you recommend? So this is, again, a hypothetical about a potential Google game. 1,000-player.
Talking about Google Stadia specifically here.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Assuming. So online 1,000.
Yeah, I feel like a for a player count of 1,000, it has to, like, you wouldn't, a single player game is out of the question because it's 1,000 players, it's not single.
Yeah, unless you're talking about concurrent players on Steam. I mean, that's 1,000 players is nothing then.
Yeah,
so it can't mean that, right?
Exactly. It's got to be multiplayer. It's got to be like a games as a servicey type.
Yeah, playing in the same universe, 1,000 players in their new streaming Stadia thing, which they were discussing, right?
Like, so. I'm kind of imagining like a battle royale, but instead of 100, it's 1,000.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that could be cool.
Where would you like it to be set? Well, it has to be a war game, right? There's no
it's got to be violence.
There's no 1,000-player concurrent.
I mean, if you made like
involve violence.
If you made like a fucking SimCity online MMO thing, where it's like, we like super utopian and idealistic, like we want you to work together to build the city. No, some idiot would just burn it down, and I would probably do that because it'd be really funny.
Yeah,
it's got to be it's got to be an action game, really.
Yeah. What developers you'd recommend? I mean, any that just don't bring bullshit, right? Any there's loads of decent developers out there, and I would like Google to put faith into a young and upcoming, like a more indie development team, and give them the resources to to realize their ambitions, and their visions, because there's just too many bigger companies who we could say, who were, one might already be doing well, or two might already be doing fucking shite. You don't really want to give them a chance, right?
Yeah. If you
give the up and comers a chance.
Give them it, because they're unlikely to be able to get the funds themselves because they're indie. They're much, much smaller. Yeah,
that's what I said. Sorry we haven't got anything more specific, but that was a very specific question then, Metal Shark, and it was the third of yours, and we're going to move on to the fourth of yours, and hopefully we can come up with a better answer. What promising features are there in the future of video games for those with visual impairments? I mean, I don't know enough about the future of video games for people with vision. Another very specific question there, Metal Shark, which we don't have any, I'm assuming you don't have any background knowledge of either.
No.
Visual impairments.
I guess more games focusing on audio rather than visual, which I think could be a really interesting thing to do, because what's the game? Hellblade. They used audio in a really interesting way by having it be the voices in the protagonist's head, and you play it with headphones, and it's like you're experiencing it.
Yeah,
that's a really innovative thing to do, but it doesn't entirely rely on it.
Yeah. The problem with having a visual impairment or producing games for people with visual impairments is that it's such a small part of the market.
Yeah.
That it's like VR, right? VR in the early days had such a small install base. PSVR, talk about specifically, Matt, as well. That if you develop a game for people on VR, the amount of money you're putting into it really doesn't pay back, because if you've got only 1 million people who have got a PSVR unit, that's your potential customers. It's very limiting. Now PSVR is up to 4.2 million units sold. If producing a VR game specifically and putting a decent amount of resources into it is more viable now. However, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are for gamers with visual impairments, but I can't imagine that it's big enough to justify a huge or a decent incentive. Therefore, the games which are being produced for gamers with visual impairments has to be done by indie studios, right?
Well, I feel like video games are quite inherently visual. It's like films are quite like to see a film, it's visual, like it's inherently visual. I mean, they do audio descriptive stuff, which I mean they could do in games, but I feel like what a game is is very inherently visual, and that is going to be lost on the community of people who do have visual impairments. And I don't feel like there's a way around it.
Yeah.
Unless you get some super creative team, and it's going to be an indie team because that's where all this kind of creativity happens, developing a purely audio-based game.
It's an interesting question because Metal Shark, this is the second week in a row that, I mean, you asked about sound systems last week, Metal Shark. I'm just wondering whether, a member of your family or someone does have a visual impairment, and that's why you're asking the question. But for anyone else who does have a visual impairment and is a gamer who watches the show, maybe let us know down in the comments what type of, if you can answer the question for us, or what you'd like to see in terms of advancements.
Choice of words. What you'd like to see in terms of advancements.
Yeah, I could have chosen words better there. But how would you like to see this industry advancing for people like yourselves who have these difficulties?
Well, actually, I suppose there's stuff like the Alexa games you can do now.
Yeah.
The choose your own adventure type things where you get options. I think they're really cool.
It's a great option, yeah.
Because it's something you can super interact with. But I'm not necessarily sure I'd call that a video game, because the video is visual, right?
Yeah.
That's what that bit means. But I guess just innovation in not necessarily audio quality, but the way it's used.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't really know the answer.
There you go. Let's move on. We've got 2 questions remaining.
Yeah. So this is from DK Collie, and I saw this one and I was like, right, I don't care what the options are. I'm up for it, so it'll be funny. Okay. Shag, marry, kill. Lara Croft, Triss Merigold from The Witcher, and Miranda Lawson from Mass Effect.
Okay, so Triss is the ginger one,
right? She's the redhead from The Witcher 2 and 3.
Okay, let me get my stock in order here.
And I assume we're talking modern Lara Croft, not the square-titted one.
Yeah, right. Miranda was awesome, right? Because she was a nice companion, right? She was pretty fit, right? She was cool. So I don't know much about Triss. I've played Mass Effect, right? I'm familiar with Miranda. I haven't played many, but everyone knows Lara Croft anyway. Yeah. So we've got to pick.
I've got my answer.
I mean, the first picture that comes up of Lara Croft, she's covered in mud. And
she likes it dirty.
She's a dirty girl. So, and also considering the fact that she's never at home, her choice for a wife probably isn't the good choice, right?
Oh no, right. So,
all right. Obviously, you've thought about this.
Yeah.
All right. So
I didn't even have to think. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm done. Lara, marry. She's got the Croft mansion. She's got all that fucking money.
You're so wrong.
She's way more trustworthy than Triss, who I would shag because. Right. I mean, I've got a soft spot for redheads, but she's banging.
Or a hard spot.
But I can't remember what it is, but she deceives Geralt in The Witcher 2. I can't remember. But yeah, so you can't trust her, but she's dope. And I've not played Mass Effect, so unfortunately Miranda Lawson's going to have to bite it. She's going to have to die.
No, man. If Triss can't be trusted, she has to die. That's it. You got to have principles, right?
Yeah, but all I'm doing is shagging her. What's one night?
I mean,
not even that. 15 minutes.
Okay, you're perfectly valid to have your own opinion. However, you're wrong. Lara Croft would be an awful wife. She would never be home. You'd be looking after the kids yourself. You'd be doing night feeds. She'd be out banging someone else in a tomb or whatever.
Or some skeleton in a tomb.
That's the way it will be.
We'll go on our
You'll be a house husband
together.
You'll be a house husband.
No. The kids
You'll
are coming with us.
You'll be looking after the sprogs.
If there's sprogs.
Changing nappies.
Yeah, we'll do it in a field.
This is a horrible idea, Henry.
In a cave. We'll leave them in a cave.
This is disgusting. This is horrible. Lara Croft has to be shagged, right? Because she's a dirty bird, right? Triss has to be killed because she's untrustworthy. And Miranda is the girl for me.
Why?
Miranda,
but I don't know her as a character.
She's a top bird. She's dependable. She can shoot a gun. I mean, what else is there?
Lara can shoot too.
What else is there? No, she's got banging tits. I mean, I don't know.
No,
it's by default, Miranda.
Lara marry, Triss shag, Miranda kill, and you're Miranda marry, kill
totally different.
Triss, and Shangri-La. Not one of those is the same.
The winner here is DK Collie for the awesome question.
Yes.
Anybody else got any
100%.
better ideas why they would
Or
shag, marry,
other
kill?
people. Bring in other people.
Good question, dude. Moving on, Earthworm Ben, do you believe Stadia's success will influence how we game? And do you believe it will change how games are published?
So I think how we game is a bit of it's a really broad question, because I think of the whole streaming thing as just another way to play. I think I've said it before.
Additional option, yeah.
Yeah, so consoling, PC, and they're like in the same category, I'd say, as like base home setup. Hardware plugged in consoles, and gaming platforms. Then you'll have your mobile on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have portable like PSPs and Nintendo DSs, and the Switch fits into that. You'll have VR, which Sony are really all about now, and then you'll have streaming as an extra thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will change the way we play, but it will add options to how we play.
Will Stadia's success influence how we game? I don't know. I think we will always game the same, and I think personally, I always have. I've always appreciated a single player narrative action game or a strategy game, always single player. And the changes in how the industry has gone more recently with the games as a service model hasn't changed how I game. Right, I just pick my games a little bit more because there's less. Maybe there's less, maybe there's not. I haven't looked at the figures, but I'm assuming there's less percentage of games that are appealing to me overall
in the mainstream at least
scope. Yeah, but there's always indie games which are always appealing to me. So therefore, I don't believe it will influence how we game, but I'm talking specifically personally here. How we game as a community, maybe it will. Maybe, I mean, you think about Fortnite, that's changed how people game because it's invited so many more people into gaming. It's been the gateway game for a lot of new gamers, right? For sure. A lot of like all these millions of kids and that who have taken up Fortnite because their friends are playing it, or whatever, never gamed in the past or whatever, and they're now in the gaming economy as such, and they might branch out into the future. That like maybe all they've ever known is a battle royale style game where they're doing Fortnite or whatever. So as a general community and as a bunch, if you count everyone who games as a community, will it influence us as a whole unit? Yes, I think it will, because people again might come into gaming just by using Google Stadia. I don't know how that would happen. It might have to be something very specific in terms of what game they're playing, like Fortnite was. But I think, as a whole, as a collective, yes, it probably will influence how we game in general. But I mean, it's not something that I'm that fussed about, because I'll always have my options. I don't think single player games will ever go. No,
it's just too soon to tell. Because we've seen the announcement and we've seen their on-stage presentation, which is all curated, and they're showing what they want to show. I don't think anyone will actually be able to really tell until you try it for yourself and you can hold it in your hands and push the stick and see if the person moves and how bad the latency is, or how affordable it is in terms of whether it's a subscription or you rent the games or what. I think it's too early to tell.
I think the problem for Google Stadia, a lot of people who have kind of have impressions of streaming services that I've seen recently, because everyone's talking about streaming services, I've seen you can hardly notice the lag, and you get used to it and this and that. And for me, it's such a step backwards. It's like going from 4K back to 720p, and people accepting that and saying, you hardly notice it after a while, like going from 100 or 60 frames a second down to 25 or 20 frames a second. You hardly notice that. That's true, but it's still a worse experience, and I don't
want to have to get used to it. I want it to be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be for very specific people who really don't care about the quality of their
and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people aren't fussed about resolutions or frame rates or anything. That's fine.
That is fine.
But latency is going to be a big issue for me.
Do you believe it will change how games are published? Yeah. I mean,
make it easier.
Well, the problem is, if Google do something, the same thing that Epic have done, and they buy up games that are pretty much already ready and throw them exclusively on Stadia, that is going to be a big bummer, right? That's going to be awful, because hopefully they won't limit physical releases or like actual digital releases that you can get on your own system.
Yeah.
And they don't limit it to, you have to play this game, you have to use our streaming service. If they do that, I will be very upset. I will be very upset because, I mean, there's discussion around Epic game exclusivity versus Steam, and people can argue that you're getting an inferior experience on the Epic Store versus Steam. I don't think that's the case. You play the game in either instance, especially me when I'm a single player game, there's no multiplayer features that are going to bother me anyway. But playing a game Metro Exodus on Epic versus Steam is going to be identical, right? And so that's where the difference is for me. There's no difference if I buy a game on Epic. The experience of playing the game is identical. However, the experience of playing the game on the streaming service like Google Stadia versus having it on your hard drive on your system at home is not going to be identical. No. There's going to be input lag. There's going to be times where you can't play the game because your internet's down, or there's a problem with the servers, or all those other problems that having to use a streaming service it raises all those problems that it raises. I just don't. I would hate that to happen. Please don't do that, Google. I will campaign and rally against you if you do that.
Well, I think in terms of the act of publishing a game and getting it out to people, streaming it will open it up to the masses much more quickly and much more easily than having to go through like a storefront in the physical or digital worlds, because you can just switch on Stadia on your computer or whatever, blips up, new game, click, go.
Yeah, like there's no doubt that's
you don't have to open Steam on your computer, download it for a few hours, or go to an actual shop and get a disc, put it in the machine, install it, whatever. It will make the like time between releasing your game and your consumer playing it much less, and I feel like that's going to be very appealing to publishers.
Yeah, I get that, but it's the difference between selling high quality food and fast food, right?
Yeah,
it's exactly the same thing. Where you can, if you want to sell fast food, and you want people to get a shittier experience quickly, then by all means do that. But I'm more of a high end, like I like to enjoy what I eat kind of person, like, because I don't buy games that, in this analogy, I don't eat that often, right? I don't play that many games. If you're just a scrub and you want to consume as many games as possible, I mean, it's great for demos, right? It'll be great for accessing the games, but it's only going to be very specific appeal, and it's going to be in addition to my hard copy of a game, in addition to my gaming PC at home. I'm never going to fully go streaming.
Like, if they did a version of it which was like, say, a lower subscription fee, and you just get, I don't know, an hour of each game, I would totally get that. Obviously, it has to be a sensible price, because then you effectively get a demo of every single game that is available on that platform.
OnLive used to do that. Yeah. OnLive used to. That was the streaming platform that came out in 2010. That it closed a few years ago, but that was the first attempt mainstream at having a streaming service like this. And I played the games that were on offer. It was a pretty limited library of games, but you could play for a whole hour, and then that was it. You're out unless you bought the game.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's good. It's a good option.
If you just used it for that, you can be like, okay, play the game,
see what it's like.
Yep, move on.
Anyway, that is it for our questions. I think we've rinsed that one out at length. We're going to move on to YouTube comments for the final section of the podcast. And let's see if anybody got upset with us, or we can get upset with anybody else. Do you have one to
I've got one ready to go. On last week's podcast, someone says, "You guys swear too much. Cut it out, you silly sausages." Fuck off.
No, that's fair.
Like, no, we do definitely swear too much.
That's fair. I was watching yesterday's video back thinking, oh my God, I swore so much in this video.
Like, I bleep them sometimes, but I'm like, there's like 4 in a row here. I'm not doing that.
I've seen what other YouTube... Maybe we should, instead of having a harsh beep sound, have some sort of boing or something.
Yeah, like a funny thing.
Funny sound.
Yeah.
Like a...
It's like who's It's one channel. It's another British one. They do like a dolphin click. I can't remember what you call it. Yeah. All time gaming. They do the dolphin noise every time.
We should do that instead of the beep. The beep's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree with them. PGG has some nice nuggets. Really can't come to grips with how good they are, says Offline Gamer. Is he talking about?
But he's an
us?
offline gamer, but he's online. He's using the internet. Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe he's some nice nuggets. Maybe he's talking about us. Are we the nuggets? No.
I think we're a bit too big to be nuggets. If we were two like short guys.
It was a term of endearment as a kid. You nugget. You're such a nugget, right?
I'm not with you.
No, you're from down south. You wouldn't know that.
In the civilized part of the world. So I got one here which really tickled me based on your controversial statements about Persona 5. Some people agreed, some people didn't. This is from Ben Hascom.
Yeah, I got that one.
Showing Persona 5 to Gareth is like showing Mozart to a chimp. So
thanks, Ben. Thanks for your comment.
Persona 5 is a classical masterpiece, and you are an ape.
To be fair, let's dig deep into his analogy here, right? First, I accept it. I mean, I'm not going to dispute it. I mean, if I'm not intelligent enough to appreciate it, that's fine. But let's just look at your analogy for a second. Showing me Persona 5 is like showing Mozart to a chimp. Mozart is a guy, right?
Yeah.
It's not actually the music. So you show me Mozart, I'm not going to be impressed either. You play some of his music, maybe.
So there's a chimp and just
bad analogy, dude. Mozart. If you're going to try and burn me, firstly, come up with a better analogy.
What's a piece of Mozart's music? Like Mozart's most famous piece. All right. What could he say? So you could say showing Persona 5 to Gareth is like showing Overture to the Marriage of Figaro to a chimp.
Does this guy not know that I'm a musician?
Or
I could probably play
Piano Concerto number 21, second movement, Andante.
It's a bad analogy because I'm a fucking musician. So I'm going to appreciate Mozart, man. What the fuck? I mean, this guy doesn't know his shit at all, does he? He even likes Persona. I mean, just kidding, Ben. I accept your...
More of a Beethoven fan myself. I'm so bad when it comes to classical music because I don't know what any of the names are because half of them are in Latin and the other half are Suite 5 Symphony 18 or whatever. I'm like, it sounds cool, but then there's no lyrics, so you can't Google the words. But I'm like, whatever that one is, it sounds awesome.
Googling the words for
when you can't think, you can't remember the name of a song. You Google the lyrics, but classical music generally doesn't have words. So I got one here, which I've realized I screenshotted it to get one in particular, but then there's another one which it perfectly fits. From SE, I hate your accent. No punctuation, no emotion, just very matter of fact. I hate your accent.
I hate your accent.
Yeah, and move along.
No energy.
Like,
just I hate your
no
accent.
likes, no replies, none of that. It's just I hate your accent.
Well,
and he's gone. What more needs to be said? But the thing is, we don't have the same accent.
I'm thinking something about you because you're pretty posh, aren't you?
But I don't have a very regional accent. I just sound like Southern.
I just sound proper.
Well,
I
said
talk
that,
proper English.
Not me.
That's what you're implying, right? Yeah. I'm just Southern. I don't have a regional accent. You fucking...
It's called Southern Standard British English. That's the technical term.
SSBE.
Here we
go, man. Fuck you know.
So a lot of people think it's RP, but it's not.
Southern Standard
like 1%
British
of people
English.
Speak RP. What? But your accent is more... Because when people say, I don't really have an accent, right, you're lying. Every single human being has an accent.
Yeah, which is one of the... Yeah. It kind of defeats what you said earlier, though, right? You said you didn't have an accent. You just generally...
No, not non-regional.
Okay.
Because the South is, it's an area, right? But someone from, Surrey sounds very similar to me, but I'm not from Surrey. I'm from Essex.
Specific question. Have you ever been hunting?
Have I been hunting?
Yeah.
No.
No game hunting. You haven't done like clay pigeon shooting or anything like that? No, never done that.
No, I'm certainly not fucking fox hunting. I'm not a piece of shit.
You never been fox hunting? No, not done that. I mean, you call yourself a posh southerner, man. That's fucking... Right. You're letting the side down.
You are the one who calls me a posh southerner.
You are letting the side down.
I will accept being southern because that is a fact. You're the one who's like...
What's the poshest thing you've ever done?
Go and play polo. Poshest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, lawn... What's it? Croquet. You played croquet, haven't you?
No. Wait, no, I might have done. Not like properly. It was at like a school
Your dad
fete.
was a professional croquet player, wasn't he?
No.
That's what he told me.
He was professional lawn darts player. No, bowls. Fucking bowls.
Lawn darts.
No.
Darts is a bit like...
No, but it's lawn darts. So it's out on the green in front of the manor.
Lawn darts.
Cooper Manor. No, yeah, I feel like... Well, it depends what his accent is, and we don't know. Because if he's not British... he's unlikely to be able to distinguish the difference between our accents as strongly. Mm-hmm. But like if he's a Scouser, he's going to be a massive hypocrite.
Yeah, huge hypocrite in that case.
For any Americans watching this, that's
I absolutely
a Scouse
hate
accent.
your accent.
For people from Liverpool, or as they say, Liverpool.
Liverpool.
And now plenty of Scousers are probably going to get quite upset, and I hope you do, because you can't speak. Geordies are better.
A southerner. I mean, I would usually agree with you, right? If I wasn't picking up on the fact that you're a southerner insulting a northern accent, that's not right. That's like racist.
It's not. It's what we do. We're what like the southern.
It's what we do.
There is a southern hatred for the north, and there is a northern hatred for the south. But you northerners, you're not even really northern because you're Welsh, so it's a different game. But northerners unite in their hatred for the south. But the south just hates all of you in varying degrees. Scouse is really horrible. Geordie's quite endearing.
Geordie?
But Yorkshire's probably my favourite because, well, I mean proper, strong Yorkshire, like tractor chucking Yorkshire. Manchester winds me up because I just think of the Gallagher brothers, and I just think they're knobs.
Yeah, Oasis.
Like, if you can tell someone's from Manchester because they never shut the fuck up about Oasis. Just let them go. The Beatles were better. They did it first.
They were better.
Well, they were Scousers, but they don't sound that Scouse.
Yeah, they worked on the
speaking. This is completely gone
way
off topic. We're a gaming channel.
We're talking about accents here, guys, and obviously we've got a lot of opinions. We mean no harm to anybody who is a Scouser. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I mean, the Scouse accent isn't very endearing, so that's a joke. Banter, guys. Liverpudlians and banter. You get it. You get it.
You do know how
you get it. I'm from North Wales. I'm allowed to have banter with Liverpool. Go and fuck yourselves.
Well, Welsh has more than all of Liverpudlian English.
True.
So
that's true. Anyway, let's
have you got any more questions?
I don't have any more questions.
The other one.
The end of my questions.
All right. So the follow-up comment that I spotted in the accent one was beta, B-E-T-A-A, because you said beta the correct way and said beta instead of beta.
I went to say it the right way, and then I corrected myself and said it in your way, which is like the American
stumbled
way.
Yourself. Right.
I said it in the American
Britain
way.
is the only country in the world who says it like that.
I don't care.
So it's wrong.
I don't care. Britain is the only country in the world that says most of our words the way we do. So why would you change one
word? That's
word?
because they've been Americanized. Because Americans generally ruin the English language because they take out you in most words.
So why don't you say everything like Americans then?
Because Americans aren't the ones who invented that way of saying beta.
So why don't you say everything like the Greek way or the Latin way?
Because the correct way to say beta in Greek is vita, because the symbol isn't a B. It's pronounced like a V.
But surely there's other words outside of beta that you should be saying non-British way if you want to hold to the correct beta.
Way. Well, I can't think of any, but I think it's daft.
I just don't like the inconsistency. That's all, Henry. To come in here. I mean, using your posh southern language.
You're speaking my language.
can speak Welsh if you want me to, but you know.
Oh, you should. I mean, are there any official Welsh language
turn it into
gaming
a Welsh
channels?
gaming channel? There probably is, but you'd be out of a job.
Yeah. Well, it's like you get sign languages in the corner of the screen. I'll be the English translator in the screen.
Yeah.
No. There we go. Right. But no, I do have another actual comment which links back to what we said earlier from Jeff Vela. That penny joke was hilarious in all caps.
Yeah, it was. It was my first choice, but it was a bit too not safe for work.
Yeah, not safe for YouTube. I mean, we still thought it was funny.
Yeah. But
YouTube wouldn't have liked it if it was that early.
Yeah. So it was I did a second joke on that one and used that one instead.
Bit cleaner.
It was a funny joke.
What was the second one? I remember the first one more than the second one.
Yeah. It was funny. That's why it was funny. Anyway, that is the podcast for today. Thanks for joining us for this one. I'm not sure how long it is. Maybe an hour and a quarter, something like that. But thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you got your fill of entertainment. And any questions or comments or discussions you want to contribute to, leave them down in the comments. Always helps us out. If you want to support this content and our news videos that we produce 3 times a week, head over to patreon.com/PrettyCoolGaming. You can get early access to this podcast, as well as I've mentioned that recently, but you can now download the audio for these podcasts from your favorite podcast service, which is iTunes or Spotify or Castbox or whatever else you use. You can download them all from there. So there you have it. We will see you again next week, and until then, bye for now.